Sengoku, Garp, and Suru came together. These three can be regarded as legends in Marine today. Even if all of you present here are powerful Shichibukai, these three people are also quite jealous. Sengoku scanned the group of heroes, and when he saw Dover, he didn't pause at all, but his pupils shrank imperceptibly. The three legendary Marines sat down opposite the round table, and Sengoku first spoke. You've already known the purpose of the government's summoning of you this time. But the old man must emphasize again that our enemy this time is the Four Emperors Whitebeard pirate group. Sengoku's voice was low and could not hear any mood swings. The expression is solemn and stern, showing the majesty of martial marine. Dover looked at the Sengoku trio with interest. This is the first time that he officially met these three legendary Marines when he came through with 737. But before that, Dover's various actions, especially blackmailing Sengoku billions of Baileys, bombarded Garp and Crane with thunderstorms, leaving the two dumbfounded and faceless. In the bottom of their hearts, these three people probably hated Dover long ago. It's just that at the moment, none of the three of them shows up. Dover knew why. The war is right in front of us. With Sengoku's mind, it is naturally impossible to cause internal instability before the war begins. This is also the reason why Dover has no fear, and came to the Marine headquarters alone. Too lazy to listen to Sengoku's emphasis on the importance of the so-called war, Dover refocused his attention on Hancock beside him. Observing closely, Dover discovered that although Hancock looked cold and turned away thousands of miles away, his snow-white skin was tight. Together with the white jade hand placed under the table, it was rubbed tightly, and there was even a slight trembling in the face. Hancock was visibly panicked when he noticed that Dover was staring at her. His eyes dodged, beautiful eyes trembling. On the flawless and beautiful face, there seemed to be a hint of blush. However, this woman is trying her best to hide, pretending to be indifferent. Dover found it more interesting. Dover, who has the perspective of God, knows Hancock quite well. Generally speaking, a female emperor like Hancock, who is extremely cold and doesn't have the slightest affection for men, is never panicked or even shy because of a man's gaze. And there is only one reason that can make the proud empress panic and shy. That is, Empress Hancock fell in love with that man. In the original book, that man is the protagonist Luffy. In this life, it is Dover. If you think about it, it's not surprising. Celestial dragons is Hancock's dream monster since childhood, and Dover, who can play celestial dragons between his palms, will leave Hancock with an indelible impression. That impression will become more and more profound with the passage of time. Hancock's emotional experience is like a 2/8 girl, innocent and white, and it is inevitable that it will fall more and more. You can see this from Hancock's nervous look at this time. The corner of Dover's mouth was slightly curved. Hancock, this woman, obviously has fallen in love with herself deeply, but she can't let go of the female emperor's heirs. She is really enough for Tsunere. At this time, Hancock didn't seem to be able to bear it at all. Dover's burning eyes seemed to see her inside and out. What do you look at? Hancock turned his head, beautiful eyes glaring at Dover. It's just that her scolding with a face-to-face voice reveals her true inner thoughts. After Hancock whispered, he immediately turned his head back and sat down tightly, as if listening to Sengoku's speech seriously. This woman is really cute. Originally, Dover was only attracted by Hancock's peerless face and figure. But at this moment, Hancock's unique Tsunere character and his high-responsibility empress status make Dover more eager to try and want to conquer this woman. Dover put his big hand under the table. When I touched the soft snowy jade hand, I obviously felt the jade hand's master's body tremble. Hancock glared at Dover again, his beautiful eyes seemed to be breathing fire. Dover smiled playfully. With a slight pressure on the fingers, Hancock's jade hand, which had been rubbed tightly, opened and was held by Dover. Hancock's beautiful eyes seem to be angry to the point where it can't be added, but the jade hand seems to have no bones and no resistance at all. Tomorrow's battle must not be lost. Although you are pirates, you are Shichibukai after all. If Marine fails, you will not be better off. You should consider the pros and cons of it. Sengoku said loudly. Shichibukai is a very strong combat power. If these 6 people can use their full strength in the battle of tomorrow, then Marine's odds of winning will increase by a step. However, Sengoku also knows that his words are just whimsical. All Shichibukai here are unruly and rebellious, and they won't follow his martial Marine's words. In fact, Sengoku's next sentence is his real purpose. One more thing. The old man must warn you. If someone wants to use small tricks on the battlefield tomorrow, they must be conscious of the unending death of the government. As soon as the voice fell, Sengoku turned around and walked away with Garp and Crane. Ha ha ha. That old man dared to threaten us. Moria said with an ugly expression. Jihahaha. This war is of significance to Marine and the government. As a marshal, Sengoku doesn't want to make a mistake. Blackbeard smiled yin-yin, his cold eyes flickering. He suspected that what Sengoku had just said was directed at him. Because Blackbeard does have a plan to make a big move in this war. That is the ability to mess up the big prison impel down and then seize the Whitebeard shock fruit. Could it be that my plan was discovered by the old Sengoku boy? Blackbeard was a little frightened for a while. Where did Blackbeard know that what Sengoku meant at the end was actually targeting Dover? It's just the latter at this time. The palm of the hand is the slender hand of the world's #1 beauty. Regarding Sengoku's warning, he didn't even care about it at all. Sengoku's last few words really scared Blackbeard. It is not advisable to stay here for a long time. I have to hurry to impel down as soon as possible. Blackbeard's eyes flashed. His subordinates were already waiting at impel down. Regardless of whether his plan has been discovered by Sengoku or not, Blackbeard can no longer stop at this moment. From the moment he killed Sachi and betrayed Whitebeard, he had nowhere to go. The era in the future belongs to Lousy. A fierce color flitted across Blackbeard's face. This is the end of the matter. He must start the established plan sooner and faster. That night, Blackbeard quietly left Marineford. In the conference hall, other Shichibukai left one after another. When Hakai Ludiver's sighed, he looked deeply at the man who defeated him by 11 in the kendo. Joker, do you mean this war by the change of the times? Without waiting for Dover to answer, Hakai continued. Where will the destiny go? Where will it go in the future, still in the mist? Looking at Hawkeye's back with Black Blade Knight on his back, Hancock couldn't help frowning at Hawkeye's inexplicable words. Dover smiled slightly. Hawkeye hasn't seen the future clearly yet. It is also true that the outcome of this war is clearly inclined to Marine at the moment, and it is reasonable for Hawkeye to be difficult to choose for a while. Without mentioning Hawkeye, only Dover and Hancock are left in the hall at the moment. Both of them stood up, with their fingers clasped together. They could no longer hide under the table, but were exposed to the light. Hancock seemed to be finally aware of this. His face flushed suddenly, and he pulled out his jade hand and glared at Dover. You. So rude. Rude? Is it just rude? Dover was amused. If you change to another man, let alone touch Hancock's jade hand, just make a few humorous words, I'm afraid he will be turned into stone and kicked into powder by the latter. Dover had a wicked smile on his face. Walked towards Hancock step by step. Until the corners of his lips were close to Hancock's crystal-clear earlobe, it seemed to be bloodied. Tomorrow, remember that if there is something wrong, leave here immediately, you know? After speaking, he gently kissed the blood-stained rosy crystal earlobe. Immediately, Dover left in a hurry, leaving only Hancock, who was flushed and almost shy and fainted. Dover was moved to Hancock. Naturally, he didn't want the latter to have any accidents. Even though Hancock is powerful, the scale of tomorrow's battle has reached the level of 4 emperors, and there may even be a terrifying existence that the world can't imagine. Hancock didn't know this. Only one sentence was rippling in her mind at the moment. He was caring about me, and he kissed my ear. Hancock forced himself back to his bedroom, pretending that nothing happened. Then a prick rushed onto the bed and buried his hot head in the quilt. New World. Wano Kuni. Kaido almost brought all the troops he could bring. This battle will be the battle that will determine the future sea and who will lead it. Kaido must win. Jack, Wano Kuni will be handed over to you before we come back. There must be no mistakes. Don't worry, Big Brother Quinn, wrap your little brother. In the 3 plagues, Quinn and Jhin all had to follow Kaido to the top of the battlefield, and Wanakuna's hometown was thrown to Jack the Drow for protection. Little ones, let's go. Everything is ready. Kaido let out a thunderous roar. The Mighty Beasts Pirates team is heading towards Marineford. A similar scene also happened in IWC. Well, Keita Curry, I will leave the management to you for the time being. Let's set off. Under the order of the aunt Charlotte Linlin, including the eldest son Perispero, Owen, Dafu and other children, as well as the pirate group under the command of countless aunts, set out together. Behind the aunt, Keita Curry solemnly bowed her head to lead her command. Yes, mother. But no one noticed the indifference in his eyes. And pudding behind Katakuri, red Sakura lips, and even a sneer. The other end. Set off earlier than Kaido and Andy, and unlike the former two with a large team, Red Hair Pirates, which has only one boat, is already on the way to Marineford. Did you find Whitebeard and the others? On the deck railing, Red Hair asked. No, Beckman took a breath. The spies searched all the waters that must pass to Marineford, and found no trace of the Whitebeard pirates. That's it. The redhead was a little disappointed. Originally, he actually wanted to dissuade Whitebeard and Marine from starting a war. But Whitebeard ignored him at all and must save Ace in his own way. Since the war is inevitable, Hongfa decided that he must also participate in it. He couldn't just watch Captain Roger's son be executed by Marine. Beckman. Where are you talking about? Beckman didn't answer, but looked at the magnificent sea under the ship with his wise eyes. The red hair knew immediately and laughed. Although the two did not use words, they already knew that the other party was the same as their own guess. That is when the Whitebeard pirates must go to Marineford through the bottom of the sea. And the facts are exactly like this. In addition to the dispatch of the 4 emperors, there is also a wave of strength that cannot be ignored, also secretly marching towards Marineford. That is the Revolutionary Army. Sabo, the current second in command of the Revolutionary Army, saw the news of Ace's arrest that day, and his childhood memories came back to life. The deep friendship of the 3 brothers. How can Sabo sit back and watch Ace be executed? Sabo must go to Ace. The leader of the Revolutionary Army, Long, who knows Sabo's character deeply, thought about it, and decided to send the 4 army commanders and Sabo to the Marine headquarters together. This decision, Long has also been carefully considered. On the one hand, he couldn't let the heirs he painstakingly cultivated and hope for the future of the Revolutionary Army to be buried in Marine's hands. On the other hand, it is Dragon's judgment based on the world situation. The era is being pushed in an unknown direction by some unknown force. Our Revolutionary Army can no longer wait to die. After seeing off Sabo and others, Long himself was not idle. He will lead the rest of the Revolutionary Army, and when Marine has transferred all its troops to the headquarters, and some important places have been exposed, he will put those places on the Revolutionary Army. In fact, it is not just the Revolutionary Army that wants to take the opportunity to expand its power. East Blue. In Arlong Paradise, Bellamy licked his lips with his scarlet tongue, and showed bloodthirsty and infinite pious eyes in his eyes. Finally, this day has finally come. Bellamy, are you ready? Don't let the young master down again. Next, a man in baby clothes said. Of course. Bellamy clenched his fists tightly. Master Senor, I have waited too long for this day. I will definitely dedicate the entire East Blue to Master Doflamingo. Occupy East Blue. At the time of the war on the top, Dover also ordered Bellamy to occupy East Blue. Of course, with Bellamy's strength, there are still shortcomings. But in addition to the family officials from Dressrosa, Senor and other family cadres, as well as the secret help of Alabasta and Virgo, the occupation at this time does not have any powerful powerplate and Garp and other powerful Marines guarding East Blue, then it is more than enough. North Blue. In the former kingdom of Germa, the huge ships have long been replaced by the Don Quixote family logo. A beautiful demon-burned woman like a butterfly, standing on the high tower. She is gorgeously dressed, wearing a crown, and she is a queen. Giggle. Queen Reiju, is it time to order the departure? If the North Blue cannot be unified before the end of the war, Master Joker will blame them. Huang Peng's beautiful voice comes from an exquisite woman with rugged bumps, but queen of the pleasure district Stussy. The current queen of Germa is naturally Vinsmoke Reiju. Reiju glanced at the woman next to him, and sighed inwardly. There was Stussy, who represented the terrible man, and even if she didn't like war, she had to start a war to conquer the entire North Blue at this time. More importantly, even if Reiju did not order, the cloned soldiers in Germa would actually attack. Because those cloned soldiers have long been controlled by that terrible man, and they have all become capable of man-made devil fruit. Reiju is not capable of controlling them at all. Thinking of this, Reiju nodded and waved. Pass the order, the whole army will attack. Boom. Give an order. There are tens of thousands of German soldiers ready to go. These clones have no emotions, are not afraid of death and pain, and they are all zone man-made demon fruit power. In the war, they all turned into beasts that only knew how to fight. Just thinking about it was enough to scare people. Your Majesty, mighty. Stas clapped his little hands, his red lips curled up. Reiju gave the woman another look. She naturally knows that the reputation of this female queen of the dark world is more authentic than her queen of the pleasure district. But it's such a character, but he is willing to stand up and down for that man. Thinking about it this way, what is your ability to escape the clutches of that man? Thinking about it, there was a faint resentment in my heart. Damn it, guy, they will be in your hands for the rest of their lives. Dover, who was far away at the marine headquarters, seemed to feel the grudge from Reiju, thinking. Clatter. Next to it, the high-heeled soles clashed with the floor. Dover returned to his senses and looked at Hancock amusedly. After walking around for a while, this woman found out, and she just acted as if she didn't care about herself. It was really funny and cute. Hancock wore a red patterned cheongsam with a slender waist and a slender waist. The arc curve below was thrilling, worthy of the title of the world's #1 beauty. Before no one noticed, Dover stepped forward and unceremoniously grabbed the slender waist of the world's #1 beauty. Hancock squeezed all over, trying his best to stay calm. Hancock breathed a sigh of relief when the sun poured into his eyes and the big hand on his slender waist left, but his heart was still plopping like a rabbit. Standing on the high steps, you can clearly see the circular port with only one gap from here. On the square of the harbor, standing solemnly are more than 100,000 elite Marines. On the higher execution stage, kneeling is Roger's son Ace Song. Sengoku, also standing there at this time. Today is the day of execution. These more than 100,000 Marines, 3 Admiral, Shicibukai, are all waiting for a powerful man, Whitebeard. However, they would not have thought that an existence far more terrifying than Whitebeard would have been quietly among them. On the huge square, more than 100,000 people gathered here. The atmosphere is warm but depressing. At this time, 3 tall figures walked to the 3 chairs under the execution platform. Akainu Sakazuki, Kazaru Perusalino, Iokiji Kuzan. 3 Admiral debut. All Marines' momentum is shocked. What a sense of oppression, you deserve to be Lord Admiral. Ha ha ha, with Admiral, even if the enemy is Whitebeard, there is no need to be afraid. Let the pirates come back and forth, awe-inspiring. On the execution platform, Ace saw this scene, and his expression dimmed. It seems that he is inevitable today. Ace is not a man who is afraid of death, but he still has too many things to do, and there are too many regrets that have not been completed. Suddenly, Ace seemed to think of something. Suddenly raised his head and looked somewhere. That's where Shicibukai is. He really is here. The person Ace is looking for is naturally Dover. In a trance, Ace seemed to have seen himself as a child for the first time a few years ago when he met the man. If it weren't for that man, maybe I wouldn't go to sea so early, maybe I wouldn't meet Whitebeard, and maybe I wouldn't have fallen to where I am today. Ace's feelings for Dover are extremely mixed. This man can be said to have influenced the trajectory of his life. Dover, who was secretly molesting the Tsunere Empress Hancock, sensed Ace's gaze and looked up. Ace shifted his gaze immediately. The corner of Dover's mouth turned. Even without Dover's help, with Ace's character flaws, sooner or later, he would not be able to escape the fate of being executed, but there was a little time gap. In fact, the current scene may be better for Ace than in the original book. Because, the future war is not a 4 emperors like Marinev's Whitebeard in the original book. Rather, Marinev's 4 emperors plus Todovera's super chaos. In such a super chaotic battle, even Akainu will not take care of Ace. Maybe Ace is lucky and can escape. Thoughts turn around. Suddenly, Dover looked into the distance, and said faintly. Coming. As his voice fell, countless ship shadows suddenly appeared above the sea level. Attention, all Marines, the Whitebeard pirates are here. Sengoku, standing at the top, holding the phone worm, suddenly yelled. There is a shock in everyone's hearts. People from all over the world are shocked. Sengoku used the video phone worm to spread to the world in this war to promote Marine's prestige. The battle between Marine and 4 emperors is finally about to start. Gia. The Whitebeard pirates, I really look forward to it. I will definitely receive more zombie soldiers in this war. Moria bared her fangs and laughed wildly. But, how come there is only Whitebeard's pirate ship, the Moby Dick? Some people have questions. Gululu, as if answering his question, a lot of blisters suddenly appeared on the sea very close to the port. Immediately afterwards, a huge pirate ship coated with a film emerged. The mobile. It's the mobile. People are shocked. The Whitebeard pirates actually came from the bottom of the sea. Sengoku's face is a bit ugly. It was invaded by Whitebeard to such a close place. When Dover heard this, he couldn't help showing a hint of irony. Sengoku's acting skills are really superb, and Whitebeard's invasion of this place is clearly within the plan of this old boy. Look at the river bank that surrounds the entire port. It is not an ordinary river bank. The seastone wall device is actually buried under it. In the original book, Sengoku relied on these seastone walls to make dumplings for the Whitebeard pirates and wiped out the Whitebeard pirates. And now, Dover, who knew this a long time ago, will naturally no longer be as Sengoku wishes. Those seamen who control the device have long been controlled by Dover's parasite string. The loud, extremely heavy sound came from the Moby Dick. It was like a sledgehammer hitting the heart, making people's spirits involuntarily strained. A very tall and stalwart man walked to the bow of the mobile. The strongest man in the world, Whitebeard Edward Newgate debuts. As soon as his person appeared, an indescribable sense of oppression rushed straight into the entire Marine headquarters. Father. Ace saw Whitebeard's figure and shouted with exhaustion, tears streaming down. Hey. Ace, don't worry, I'll save you. And Ace. The captain of the Whitebeard team appeared together, including the Phoenix Marco, Diamond Joes, Foil Vista and so on. Everyone. Ace's tears can't stop streaming. Sengoku, standing next to Ace, is the strongest man in the world. Whitebeard. Goo la 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 la. Whitebeard also looked at Sengoku and grinned. I haven't seen you in decades, Sengoku. How is my son doing? Well with you? Sengoku said in a deep voice. Whitebeard, fight Marine decisively. Are you aware of the destruction of the Whitebeard pirate group? Ha ha ha. Whitebeard looked up to the sky and laughed. Cut Kong Yun to stand aside. The muscles of the arms bulge high. Immediately, it slammed into the air. My sons, continue to gallop freely on this sea, Sengoku. The muscles of both arms bulged like a hill. Seeing Dad's posture, Marco and the captains quickly hid aside. Ha ha ha. Father's posture like this, but I haven't seen it in some years. Marco said with a sigh. Since Dada's body became ill, Dada's number of shots has decreased. Of course, there are very few people worthy of Dad's shot in the whole sea. Boom. It's like a broken mirror. Whitebeard doubled his punches, hit in the air. The space was shattered in an instant. It opened up. Be careful. The strongest man in the world is going to show off. Garp, who had been silent for a long time, couldn't calm down at this time, and shouted. Hey. Whitebeard grinned. The vibration emanating from the double fists traveled along the atmosphere, to the sea, and to the bottom of the sea at infinity. But it will take some time to see the real horror of Whitebeard's trick. What's the matter? Nothing happened. Is Whitebeard bluffing? How is it possible? Didn't you see that the atmosphere is cracking? More than 100,000 Marine panicked because of Whitebeard's punch. How could Sengoku allow this kind of emotion to spread? Just about to move, a figure that made him feel extremely surprised unexpectedly jumped out. On the steps where Shicibukai stood, the world's largest swordsman, Hawkeye suddenly jumped out. In the kendo competition, I lost to you. However, I still want to see how far we are from the strongest man in the world. Dover raised his eyebrows. Hancock, who was next to Dover, also heard Hawkeye's words, and there was a wave of waves in his heart. This man like an eagle unexpectedly lost in the kendo competition. Hancock couldn't help looking at Dover beside him, his beautiful eyes overflowing with admiration and admiration that could not be contained. As expected of the man the concubine fell in love with. Not to mention what kind of brain supplement Hancock got into. Hawkeye took the lead. Not only Sengoku was surprised, but Admiral was also extremely surprised. Akainu, located in the middle of the three Admiral, couldn't help but look. The Hawkeye, who has always been doing its own way, is going to make a move this time. I saw Hawkeye pulling out the huge black sword knight behind him. Hold high. Immediately, slashed violently. Buzzing. There seemed to be a roar in the void. Immediately afterwards, at the mark of the black sword knight, a huge sword light that was tens of meters long, suddenly appeared. The huge sword light, the whole body is emerald green, and the entire port is dyed with color. Such a terrifying slash is rare in the world. It seems that Eagle Eye's kendo during this period has improved a bit. Dover thought secretly. Hawkeye's attack was even more terrifying than the slash in the original work. The huge slashing wave crossed a distance of kilometers in an instant and flew towards Whitebeard. Whitebeard's eyes closed. Just when the chopping wave was approaching Whitebeard, a stout figure blocked the front. Diamond Joe's. What? Joe's body was covered with hard diamonds, and he let out a loud roar, sending the chopping wave to the sky. Such a slash was actually blocked? People are shocked. However, more shocking things are still to come. Hearing that the sea suddenly shook suddenly, accompanied by a loud rumbling sound, it was like the wrath of the sea god. When the sea and the sky meet, the waves of 100 meters high are coming. It's a tsunami. The back of Whitebeard's move just now caused a tsunami and turned into a tsunami. Sengoku on the execution stage was full of anger. Marine, with more than 100,000, was panicked instantly. Such a terrifying tsunami, if it comes down, I am afraid that the entire Marineford will be submerged under the sea. Is this the power of the world's strongest Whitebeard? Monster. It's a monster. When Whitebeard and Marine started to collide, the Kaido pirates and the Ant pirates, who came from Wanokuni and Wanguo, were in trouble. The two of them had planned to wait for Whitebeard and Marine to fight you to death, when they suddenly came to the court to reap the benefits. Unexpectedly, they were discovered by red hair pirates while they were traveling. Looking at the red-haired Shanks standing with the sword, the Ant's sharp voice shouted. Redhead, are you going to fight with us? The red hair at this time is actually in a dilemma. If it's just one of Kaido or the Ant, the red hair has the confidence to let them retreat. However, the Ant and Kaido are connected. This is very difficult. With his red hair alone, he is not enough to resist the 2-4 emperors. Shanks, we'd better rush to Marineford as soon as possible and tell Whitebeard about this. Beckman whispered. Shanks nodded. Can't fight hard with the 2-4 emperors, the best choice at the moment is to rush to Marineford as soon as possible. But before leaving, the redhead has one more thing to ask. Kaido, mother, your goal is also Marineford, right? Why do you choose to join forces at this time? This is where red hair worries the most. The appearance of Kaido and Andy is really unexpected and coincidental. It's as if there are two hands behind them, controlling all this. If it is said, Kaido or the Ant took advantage of Whitebeard's battle with Marine to sneak attack on Whitebeard's territory, Shanks wouldn't be surprised. However, the two people got together and looked like they were going to jow Marineford in the muddy waters. So Shanks had to wonder whether there was someone in charge. Kaido and Andy are not fools, of course they will not tell Shanks the real reason. Kaido smiled Shen. After all, Marine is the enemy of all our pirates. Taking the opportunity to destroy Marine is not right for us all. Destroy Marine. Shanks was shocked. Well, 74-0, well. The Ant also smiled. This idea is very good. As long as Marine is eliminated, this sea will be our world. The two will not speak out about Dover, but it doesn't mean that they can't say the purpose of their trip. In fact, after thinking about the two, Shanks is also a pirate, and he should be happy to hear that they are going to destroy Marine. However, Kaido and Andy were wrong. At the beginning, among the 4 emperors of Dover, there was a reason why Shanks alone did not come into contact with them. That's the identity of Shanks. No one knows the true identity of Shanks. Or it has something to do with 5 elders and even the mysterious Lord Yim. Or the descendants of the former maritime overlord Rocks, never known. But the only certainty is that Shanks can meet 5 elders alone, and he must have an unexplainable relationship with the world government. Sure enough, Shanks' face changed a lot when he heard Kaido and Andy were about to destroy Marine. No, absolutely not. Marine's strength is not as simple as the surface. More importantly, it is not yet time to eliminate Marine. But this is the end of the matter. How could Kaido and Andy give up halfway? Shanks also knew that he could not stop the 2-4 emperors in front of him, and he was anxious. Turned his head and ordered Beckman. Hurry up, sail. I want to get to Marineford as quickly as possible to stop this war that is bound to cause disastrous consequences. Beckman knows the redhead's character well, and knows that this matter is probably not trivial, so he immediately ordered the helmsman to move forward at full speed. Since Shanks only brought one ship, Aunt Kaido brought the entire fleet. In terms of speed, Shanks is naturally faster. Huh. The red-haired boy thought he was just an intern on Roger's ship. Auntie saw Shanks leaving so arrogantly, she let out a cry. The expression on Kaido's face was a little dark. He wants to stop the war, but that's impossible. We must also rush to Marineford as soon as possible. Marine Headquarters, Marineford. Facing the endless huge tsunami that swept from all directions. The Marines were pale, and there was panic in their eyes. At this critical moment, among the three Admiral, Aokiji stood up. Well, although there are indeed different positions for justice, I can't let such a person die here. This argument about justice is what Aokiji said after going to Dover after World War I. After deep thinking, Aokiji feels that this argument does have some truth. However, Aokiji still has no clear idea of how to balance the justice of these opposites. What is true justice? Let's leave this question for later. The war in front of him. Aokiji also has something he must stick to. I saw Aokiji leaping forward, leaping to the sky, arms spread out. Ice Age. 2 icicles shot out from Aokiji's palm and touched the huge tsunami on the sea. Zzz. Upon contact, the tsunami stopped. Then, in the blink of an eye, the huge tsunami was frozen. It makes the whole Marineford look like it has been inhabited by a circle of icebergs. Dover looked at the circle of icebergs. This mountain saved Marineford from the disaster of extinction. Not only that, it also surrounded the people under the Whitebeard pirates, making them lose their way of retreat. In the original book, Akainu took advantage of this and successfully instigated the ghost spider, making the latter stabbed Whitebeard. But this time, Dover smiled faintly. This time it won't be like in the original book again, because the iceberg around here will soon be broken by the upcoming redheads, Kaido, Ant and others. Boom. Aokiji fell from a high altitude onto the water of the port, and the whole port was frozen. Ha ha ha. Although the old man's tsunami was frozen by the ice, it also gave us a place to stay in 4.6. The members of the Whitebeard pirate group were so happy they jumped off the boat and killed Marine. And Aokiji did not attack Whitebeard like the original book this time. The justice of the government and the justice of Marine are no longer held in Aokiji's heart. He can't work hard for Marine. Let me see more things clearly in this war, and your purpose. Aokiji turned his head, and looked at the man standing with his hands behind him, as if he was playing with Marine and 4 emperors in his palm. What is it again, Joker? Kill these Marines and rescue Ace. Tens of thousands of pirates under Whitebeard rushed into the port, shouting to kill the sky. Naturally, Marine was not to be outdone. Under the leadership of Marine Vice Admiral, they resisted the attack of the pirates. In just a few breaths, the two sides became entangled together, and the battle was like a fire. Although Marine has the advantage, the Whitebeard pirate group is indeed the strongest 4 emperors group. The strongest under the command, especially the captain level. Even Marine Vice Admiral is not an opponent. Obviously, this battlefield cannot be ended in a short time. Sengoku seemed to know this too, and he never thought that he could defeat the Whitebeard pirates quickly. Sengoku still has one thing to do before the highest combat power of both sides comes on the court. That incident was also the main reason why Sengoku would not hesitate to start a war with the White 11 Beard, but also to publicly execute Ace. Sengoku took a deep breath, stared at Ace who was kneeling next to him, and said in a deep voice. Ace, tell everyone present, tell the world, who is your biological father? Ace, who was in a state of excitement because of his father's arrival, was shocked when he heard Sengoku's words. Ace clenched his teeth, with an expression of pain on his face, unwilling to answer this question. Say it, Ace. Sengoku continued to persecute. The scene at this moment has been presented in front of the entire world through the video phone worm. Enough. Garp on the side couldn't stand it anymore. There is no need to expose this matter in front of the entire world. No. Sengoku said coldly, that's necessary. Sengoku took the amplified phone worm, and his voice echoed throughout the Marine headquarters and even the world. Marine decided to publicly execute Ace, the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates. It's not without reason. Because Ace's true identity is the son of One Piece King Gold D. Roger. Wow. These words, like a bolt from the blue sky, blasted into everyone's hearts. The involuntary pirates and seamen who were fighting also involuntarily stopped their movements and were dumbfounded. The entire Marine headquarters, as well as all parts of the world that heard this sentence, fell into an instantaneous silence. Ace, he is actually the son of One Piece Roger? Cannot believe it. The pirates under Whitebeard had a lot of discussions, including several captains who had a good relationship with Ace, and it was the first time I heard about this news. Pirates, Ace is the son of One Piece, and Whitebeard concealed this information. Sengoku's voice sounded again. Do you know what this means? This means that Whitebeard actually wants Ace to be the next One Piece. You came here and you were all deceived by Whitebeard. Psychological warfare. Sengoku is fighting psychological warfare. Regardless of whether the pirates under Whitebeard believed him or not, they would inevitably hesitate in their hearts. And as long as you hesitate, even if it is only a trace, Sengoku, known as the resourceful general, can use it to increase Marine's odds by 1 point. Father, is what Sengoku said true? Is Ace really Roger's son? You really deceived us. Do you want to push Ace into the position of Shanghai Pirate King? As expected by Sengoku, the pirates were shaken and questioned Whitebeard. Sengoku smiled triumphantly and whispered to the herald next to him. Let the order go on. Turn off the video phone worm. The next scene, you don't need to let the world know. Yes, Master Marshal. The messenger goes down. However, as soon as this person Fang left the realization of Sengoku, his eyes suddenly stiffened, and then a strange color flashed. No one noticed that at this moment Dover's fingers, as if they were playing the piano, jogged lightly. A thread that no one could detect entered the herald's body. When the messenger reached the person controlling the videophone worm, he was not talking about shutting down, but asking them to call in more videophone worms. This is Marshal Sengoku's order, the messenger said. When more videophone bugs were brought up, Dover smiled slightly. Xiao Buddha, the real good show hasn't started yet. How can the medium to the world be cut off so early? At the time when the situation in Marineford was unpredictable, the big prison known as the world government impelled down. At this moment, there is a huge crisis that Sengoku can't imagine. Thief ha ha ha. As this impelled down, it is extraordinary. Blackbeard Teach, together with his crew, is at the gate of impelled down. Because of the outbreak of the war on the top, the defense of the current impelled down is also unprecedentedly slack. Captain, the war on Marineford's side should have broken out. Let's act quickly, and then rush to the battlefield. Fighting Champion Badgers exclaimed excitedly. I cannot wait any more. Blackbeard is also unbearable. As long as he recruits the strong men in the 6th layer of Eternal Hell, he can rush to Marineford and take the shock fruit of the old man Whitebeard. Blackbeard couldn't help laughing wildly just thinking about it. Little ones, take action. Let us see the world's largest prison together. Blackbeard and his group enter Impel Down, going down to the 3rd floor very smoothly. It's weird. Marine has transferred most of its military power to Marineford, but the defense here shouldn't be so loose either. Navigator Lafayette said puzzledly. They came across only sporadic obstacles along the way, without even decent resistance. This is very abnormal. You must know that Impel Down is ultimately the powerhouse of the world government, and no matter what, the defense cannot be slackened. There is something wrong. There was also a flash of suspiciousness in Blackbeard's eyes. The situation at this moment of Impel Down is really weird. There was an unexplainable premonition in Blackbeard's heart, and even the urge to make him want to turn around and run away. But that is impossible. They were all here, and they fled Tenten with a little premonition. Not to mention that Blackbeard was unwilling, and Badgers and others under his team would not agree. Thief ha ha ha. Thinking of this, Blackbeard's eyes turned, and he smiled on his face. Maybe the prisoners on the lower floors rebelled, and their troops were all deployed and suppressed. If Blackbeard knew that his joking remarks to stabilize the military's spirit had come to an end, I am afraid that he would wish to lick his own mouth. Because, not long before the arrival of Blackbeard and his party, Impel Down did break out a prisoner rebellion. And, it's not as simple as the following layers, but at the lowest level, Eternal Hell. Time went back to a quarter of an hour ago. Shiryu Rain, the second character of Impel Down, received a call that he had been waiting for a long time. You finally called. It seems that the war has already begun. On the other side of the phone, Dover's voice came. The trend of the times is about to reach its peak. Virgo has already told you very clearly. Certainly. Shiryu grinned. More than a year ago, Wilgo came to Impel Down and informed Shiryu of the plan to destroy Impel Down. Subordinates have been waiting for this day for a long time, Lord Doflamingo. Hang up the phone. Shiryu drew the long knife from his waist, and the blood in his body gradually boiled, and the infinite desire for killing exploded on him. Finally, we can kill well. Shiryu left the room. Step by step towards the 6th floor. Everyone he meets, whether it is a prisoner or a prison guard, is in the same face and is sealed by Shiryu. When you reach the 6th floor, the prisoners and guards who died in Shiryu's hands are no more than 100. Such a big movement naturally alarmed the warden who was having diarrhea, Magellan who was capable of poisonous fruit. Shiryu, what are you doing? Magellan was angry and asked Shiryu. What are you doing? Ha 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 ha. Shiryu licked the blood on the blade, and laughed mockingly. Magellan, you are too naive. You only know to be a running dog of the marine government. I don't know that the era is undergoing tremendous changes. What did you say? Magellan was shocked on the spot. And then, an unbelievable scene happened to Magellan. I saw the most closely guarded 6th floor, all cages made of sea stone. The door was actually opened. Impossible, where did you get the key? Magellan couldn't believe her eyes. One by one, the prisoners full of evil spirits came out of the cage. Evil King Abaro Pizarro, Black Moon Hunter Caitlin Butterfly Beauty, Giant Battleship San Juan Evil Wolf, Big Wine Basque Chote. There is also the original 7 Warlords of the Sea, which was placed in the back of Impel Down by Dover Early. Sand Crocodile, Asshole Shiryu, these are all good things you did. Magellan was so angry that he couldn't be more angry at this time, and his whole body trembled. Release these criminals, do you know what it means, Shiryu? Shiryu sneered coldly. It's boring, Magellan doesn't seem to understand the situation yet. He turned his head to look at the sand crocodile walking to the forefront step by step. Are you going to kill this guy? Warn in advance, don't underestimate Magellan, he is the biggest hindrance to our action. Crocodile twisted his neck and made a rattling noise. Compared to Shiryu, Crocodile, who was first sent here by Dover, undoubtedly waited longer. The indifferent eyes seemed to penetrate Magellan directly, looking at Dover at Marineford. And Dover, as if feeling a little, glanced in the direction of Impel Down. The action over there must have begun. Buddha Xiao, the world's first prison. Copper and iron walls. Ha ha ha, it's time to destroy it. With the emergence of this idea, Impel Down was completely plunged into an unprecedented chaos. Marineford. The situation is ever-changing. The pirates who had attacked Marine aggressively became suspicious because of Sengoku's words. In particular, the 43 pirate groups that Whitebeard killed and came to help out from New World were even more panicked. Father, answer quickly, is what Marine said is true? Standing on the mobile, Whitebeard's face sank like water. After fighting with Sengoku for decades, he didn't know how the opponent was fighting psychological warfare. But, even if he knew that the other party was playing tricks, Whitebeard could do nothing. Because Sengoku uses smart tricks, and with Whitebeard's character, it is impossible to lie. I'm afraid Sengoku has already calculated this point. The resourceful General Sengoku, you are still a treasured sword. Whitebeard took a deep breath. The matter was over and there was no point in concealing it. Little ones. Whitebeard yelled, everyone's eyes were attracted to him. Ace is indeed Roger's son. But, this war is not fought because Ace is Roger's son, but because Ace is our 743 companion. Also, I, Whitebeard, will never betray my son. Sound like thunder. All the pirates were shocked. Yes, Ace is our companion, even if he is Roger's son? Daddy won't betray us. Follow Daddy and rescue Ace. A silent psychological battle was finally settled by Whitebeard's prestige. Huh. I'm finally all right. Marco let out a sigh of relief. He was really worried just now. Before he defeated Marine, he would be messed up first. However, Marco did not know that despite the prestige of Whitebeard for decades, 99% of pirates still believe in Whitebeard. However, one person still had a tingling pain in his heart. This person is Scootard, the great vortex spider. Scootard has an enmity with Roger, so unlike others, he can easily accept the fact that Ace is Roger's son. As for Marine, it seems that Scootard has already been investigated for this flaw. A red figure appeared in front of Scootard, Marine Admiral Akainu. Scootard was taken aback and quickly raised the sword in his hand. Akainu looked at Scootard sarcastically and mocked. Are you going to work hard for Whitebeard? It's ridiculous, I don't even know if I was sold. What did you say? Whitebeard knows that you and Roger have hatred, but keeps concealing Ace's identity from you, haven't you awakened yet? Scootard's face turned pale. Akainu knew that the person's heart had been shaken, and his eyes flashed with coldness, and continued to add fire. Look at the surrounding icebergs again. Your escape route has been completely cut off. Whitebeard has signed an agreement with Marine. As long as you alien pirates die, Ace and Whitebeard pirates will survive. What? Scouyard trembled and his face was unbelievable. Impel down. The 6th floor of eternal hell. An unprecedented chaos broke out. Although Magellan led almost all the defensive power of Impel down, the opponents were Shiryu, Crocodile, and the monsters on the 6th floor. The strength gap in the top combat power cannot be made up by small soldiers. You bastards, all die in the pain of poison. The large prison suffered unprecedented destruction, and the defense was even more deadly. Even the deputy warden Haniabal also died. Magellan's eyes are splitting, almost crazy. His whole body turned into purple venom in an instant. Poison dragon. Poison pufferfish. Poison giant soldier. Countless venom, almost all over the 6th layer. Magellan is crazy, don't get his venom. Shiryu, with a cigarette in his mouth, reminded. However, even though Magellan was extremely powerful, he couldn't withstand so many powerful players. Just as Shiryu, Magellan needs a lot of money. What's more, powerful monsters such as Sand Crocodile and Evil King must be added. Even with Magellan's reckless play, after all, he couldn't stop him for too long. Soon, Magellan overused his power and fainted. Just when Shiryu was about to cut Magellan's head, his figure was suddenly rescued by a blue shadow, and he jumped into the sea in the blink of an eye and disappeared. It's Seaman Jinbei. Kronkardal looked at the direction where the blue figure disappeared and said. Jinbei was imprisoned and impelled down because he was unwilling to fight Whitebeard. The man escaped in the chaos just now and took the opportunity to rescue Magellan. Even if Magellan doesn't die this time, he will be abolished. Shiryu sneered. Jinbei is a murloc, so naturally it is impossible for everyone to chase after him. What's more, their goal has also been achieved. Just the last step. Bury impelled down to the bottom of the sea forever. This big prison, known as the Bronze Wall and Iron Wall, will become history from now on. If it spreads out, it will surely shock the world. Crocodile exclaimed. Although they did this unprecedented brilliant move. But everything is actually under the remote control of that man. At first, when Crocodile had just surrendered to Dover, there was still some dissatisfaction. But at this moment, it is already convinced, it can be destroyed by the impel down of the invisible Vice Admiral without showing up. Apart from that man, who can do it? Just as Crocodile was shocked and admired by Dover's unpredictable methods. Da da da, the sound of messy footsteps came from above. Is anyone still dead, Jia? A bloodthirsty color flashed in Shiryu's eyes. Looking at the figures that appeared at the stairs, they couldn't help being stunned. But at the moment, standing at the top of the stairs, the few people who just came down from above were even more dazed than Shiryu. No, not only dumbfounded, but also shocked, so that the eyeballs are about to fall off. This is the 6th floor of Eternal Hell? Looking at the corpses, blood, and venom all over the floor, especially the prisoners he wanted to conquer during this trip, they stared at him as if they were prey. Blackbeard was dumbfounded. At this moment, Blackbeard looks like a black question mark face. Originally, his calculation was to rescue the criminals on the 6th floor, so as to make them surrender to himself. However, looking at the current situation, he hasn't rescued them, and these most vicious criminals have already come out. And, they looked at Blackbeard's eyes at the moment, and Blackbeard also made a choke in his heart. Blackbeard insisted not to panic, and smiled. Who can anyone tell me what's going on here thing? Badges haha AA said. Captain, I was hit by you. The criminals really rebelled. They seem to have won. This will save us time. Blackbeard can't wait to slap Badgers, doesn't he have eyes for these obvious things? The crux of the problem is that the current situation is too weird and obviously not that simple. Who is this dark guy? Crocodile frowned and looked at the group of uninvited guests on the opposite side. He has been impelled down these years, and in the early years, when he challenged Whitebeard, he didn't pay attention to the hidden and extremely low-key Blackbeard. Therefore, Crocodile does not yet know Blackbeard. He is Blackbeard Teach, the new Shicibukai who replaces you. Shiryu explained, and immediately looked at it playfully. Blackbeard, as Shicibukai, you are not on the battlefield. What are you doing here? Blackbeard's expression stagnated, and he said lightly if he avoided the seriousness. Just now, no one has answered me. Also, Yuji Shiryu, as the head guard of Impel Down, it is very unreasonable to stay with this group of criminals. Both sides are testing. But Crocodile didn't have the thought and time, and said coldly. Instead of my Shicibukai? The nameless guy. Marine really doesn't have any eyes. But since I met it, let's kill it. Having said that, we must do it. Wait. Blackbeard yelled hurriedly, ignoring the temptation, and directly stated his intentions. My trip is actually here to save you. Now Marine is fighting with the Whitebeard pirates. I can't take care of this side. I am here to rescue you from here. Save us? Crocodile stopped. Yes. Although I haven't figured out what happened here just now, Blackbeard can only be a dead horse doctor. He gritted his teeth and explained the purpose. After this war, the era belonging to Whitebeard will definitely end. And the next era. Blackbeard clenched his fists and made a loud voice. It belongs to me, Blackbeard teach. Are you willing to follow me and create a new era together? Blackbeard's eyes made no secret of his huge ambition, and after speaking, he looked to the opposite side expectantly. Although he didn't rescue these people personally, Blackbeard was confident that, with his own strength and spirit, it was enough to make these people surrender to him. But unexpectedly, in response to Blackbeard, it was a crazy laugh. Ha 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 ha. Lousy is laughing to death. This guy wants us to follow him. I don't know how high the sky is. Hee 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 la la la. My tears are almost bursting out of laughter. The Eternal Hell and other prisoners of the former Eternal Hell, clutching their stomachs, laughed wildly. Blackbeard was dumbfounded again. What are you laughing at? Badgers, Lafayette and others were also astonished. Shiryu snorted. Blackbeard, it seems that you don't know anything, you are already in charge. Yes, there is a master. Blackbeard opened his mouth wide and couldn't believe his ears. Who would have subdued these villains before him? Who is it? Don't talk nonsense with him, kill them. Crocodile said impatiently, turning his body into countless sand, and rushed towards Blackbeard. It seems you can only go to hell and ask the Lord. Shiryu gave a bloodthirsty smile and drew the long sword. The evil king and the others also showed brutality and leaned towards Blackbeard and his party. Blackbeard's face changed drastically. The development of the matter is completely different from his original plan. What to do, Captain? Badgers panicked. What else? Blackbeard roared, since they don't know each other, kill them. Seeing a fierce face, he slammed his hands on the ground. Blackwater Dark Cave Road. A wisp of black air spread from his hands to the surroundings. It's just that the speed of spread is too slow for the strong people present. A boring trick. Crocodile easily covered Blackbeard's black water with sand, and then he flashed and came to Blackbeard's front. Blackbeard was caught off guard, and Crocodile caught his neck in a face-to-face encounter. Captain. Badgers and others were shocked and hurried to rescue Blackbeard, but Shiryu and others stopped him. Don't kill me. Blackbeard begged for mercy. He still has too many ambitions to realize. How can he die here? As Shicibukai who replaces me, this is too weak. However, the sand crocodile simply ignored Blackbeard's begging for mercy, and the palm of his hand turned into sand, instantly sucking Blackbeard into a human being. When Blackbeard was dying, a few words drilled in his throat. Why? His head tilted and even his body was kicked to pieces by Crocodile. In the original book, the biggest conspirator and careerist was so confused and dead. His plan was destined to lose all from the beginning. But until Blackbeard died, he didn't know how to lose. I don't even know who I lost to. For Marshal D. Teach, who has been hiding on the Whitebeard ship for decades, this is really the saddest way to die.